On today's episode of Studio Knowledge, we're going to talk about monitors. Okay, monitors, speakers, the things that we listen to get the mix right, to record, or just for fun, listening to other songs. Which monitors should you get? Again, we kind of talked about this with headphones and a lot of other pieces of equipment. It really comes down to your own personal preference. Okay, I can give you recommendations, and a lot of engineers and other producers and other people on gearsluts.com will give you tons of recommendations. But it always comes down to what is going to work best for you. What sounds good to you? The first recommendation that I would give is to have a good size with a good frequency range type speakers, a pair. And the reason why I say that is you need something that's going to allow you to hear the lows and to let you hear really clear. And you want a spaced pair. You want two. And you may think that that's obvious. But the reason why I say that is because that's going to lead up to my second recommendation is having a small mono speaker, a singular speaker. And the last recommendation is I want you to have a consumer speaker as well. Okay, so let's go back to our first main speakers, which aren't actually mains because those are really big speakers, really loud, really expensive, and you really just have those to show off the song for the A&R guys that come to the studio and all that stuff. Okay, well let's say you don't have A&R people coming to your house in your home studio. You want a good set of speakers because this is going to help you with editing. It's going to be able to show detail that you might be missing. And it's also kind of the finalizer, something that you're going to listen to at the very end. Now, when you're picking out speakers in any of these cases, the best advice I can give you is to go to your local shop, your local music store, take a CD that you know inside and out, and a lot of these places, they will have a monitor room in their pro audio department, and switch to different speakers. See which one kind of sounds the best to you. Now I'm going to use a term that gets kind of thrown around a lot and almost obsessed about, but you're listening for something that's going to give you a nice flat response. Okay, we don't listen to music flat. Most people, when they get in the cars, the first thing they do when they have the radio on or a CD playing or whatever it may be, they boost the bass and maybe adjust the treble as well. And you know, if they're really savvy, maybe they've got a 10-band equalizer. Anyway, but have some of that. Again, it's got to be a song that you know really well, but something that's going to kind of represent all different frequencies. And listen to each individual instrument as you can. Try to pick out, all right, how does the kick drum sound? How does the bass sound? Snare, the guitars, the voice, and any other sounds that they may have. Really kind of pinpoint and make sure that they're representing really well. Okay? The other caution that you need to observe is a lot of these rooms are not really acoustically attenuated, but they do have a bunch of crap on the walls. Okay, they've got tons of RLX bass traps and foam and frequency absorbers and all that. That's not going to be how you're going to listen to it in your studio. I hope not. I hope you don't have foam from floor to ceiling all over the walls. But it's still going to give you a good basis of what sounds good to you and what is not, okay? As far as like the main speakers, or again, your main near field stereo pair, I use Dynaudio. I really like them. 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 I really like them I had gotten some ideas from engineers that I liked and respected, but I listened to them, and it really came down to the Dynaudios, and the other company that I really recommend is Atom speakers. Atoms are really good. Focals are really good. They look like focal, but focal, they're French. Um, I know one of the big staples are Genelec speakers. I don't use them, not necessarily because I don't like them. I just prefer these guys over that. Okay. Um, KRK is really good. Events, I use Event TR8s for a long time. Really big in the mid-range. But again, it comes down to, is it representing what you want to hear? And there are sometimes where you do need, if your speakers are lacking in the low end, is adding a subwoofer. Okay? And again, some engineers, that may be taboo, but again, don't have it be super loud. You just want to kind of fill out the low end so you know what's going on with the low end. As far as the mono speaker, you want this to kind of sound terrible. It's not supposed to sound good. One of my favorite speakers to use, and which were staples for a long time, were the NS10s, Yamaha NS10s. They stopped making them apparently because they ran out of the wood. At least that's what they were saying. But it's the speakers that you see in most studio videos. There's the black boxes with the white cones, okay, white speakers. But the idea of having one in mono is that if you can get it sounding good on those speakers, and if you can get it sounding big on a small mono speaker, it's going to sound huge on whatever sound device, listening device that everyone else is going to be using, okay? And the last thing is having a consumer type speaker. Chris Lord-Alge, well-respected engineer. If you don't know him and you're in the audio engineering game, go do your research and maybe come back when you've heard of Chris Lord-Alge. But the point is that one of the final things that he uses is a Sony kind of boombox. And again, if it sounds good on that, then that's kind of his stamp of approval. One of the things I learned from Charles Dye, another really great engineer, is that he has computer speakers, and he would actually use them as his mono speaker, but he would place them kind of off to the side. And the reason why he did that was because most people aren't listening to one speaker these days. They have two speakers, but they're done in a way to where you're only hearing it from one ear and not right in front of you. It's usually people are working around. So hopefully that'll give you some ideas of what monitors you need and actually how to use them. And the other recommendation that I have specifically with monitors is having something underneath or some space, something that's going to create space between the desk and the speaker, because that speaker is going to be vibrating, and if it's directly on your desk, it's going to sound different. There's a company called IsoAcoustics that actually is a stand for your speakers that kind of separates and just lets you hear the speaker and the sound coming out of the speaker rather than what is kind of vibrating through the desk and enhancing the low end, because that's going to throw off your mix as well. Okay, so again, those are the speakers that I recommend, or at least those companies and the types of speakers that you would need in your studio. This is going to help you to translate your mixes so it works on a variety of different speaker setups. And again, if you have any questions, leave a comment below or email us, and we will do our best to answer your questions. So again, I hope this helps, and we'll talk again soon.